Morning, how are we all? My name's Emma Duval. No, I'm not Kerry. Kerry is out unwell. So I've asked to take over just for one-off episodes. So I know Kerry's going to be in the comments at some point. But today we've got an Irish lass. We've not had an Irish lass in quite a bit. So she's called, please don't kill me if I get your surname wrong. Please don't. Emma O Loughlin. She's laughing in the background. Yeah, she'll correct me when she comes on. But yeah, please share this all in awareness and acceptance. We love you all. But first, we're doing a little bit of promotion, as obviously August is a powerful month spiritually, if anyone's into all of that. We have got, I'm going to post, this is our link tree. Obviously, you can find that on Facebook and YouTube. Obviously, I will upload it onto LinkedIn also. And that basically is the link to all our social media, so Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. We're even on Spotify now, so if for anyone that wants to listen in, please do. So on that note, we will see you in 30 seconds to bring Emma on. Hello, Emma.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
You're most welcome. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good, yeah.
Good, thanks. And obviously, before we get started, Kerry, I've already put Spotify onto our link tree. Already done it. Been there, done that. Right, Emma. Obviously, before we dive into your story, because this is your first time on the show, we like to get to know our guests a little bit. So we're going to spice up a little bit, have a little bit of fun, and throw some quick fire questions at you. How's that?
Yeah, perfect, yeah.
Let's do it. Right, are you a night owl or an early bird?
Night owl. I'd love to be an early bird, but I'm a night owl.
Okay. Your favourite social media platform?
Instagram.
Everyone says that.
Yeah, Instagram.
Cat or dog?
Dog, definitely.
Yep, another dog lover. Right. Kerry's favourite one. Does pineapple belong on pizzas?
No.
Thank you. Yeah. Pineapple don't belong anywhere except for in the smoothie.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Brilliant. Right. Christmas or Halloween?
Halloween.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. Right. Let's get started. Who is Emma?
Well, my story is I was born absolutely perfect. Just the one little thing was I had a mild learning disability. It was just something that was very little that I suppose wasn't really dealt with in Ireland at the time. So I was always very ambitious. I worked day and night. When I left school, I became a beautician. I moved to London. I worked in television. I worked as background extras. I worked as a background actor. I came back to Ireland. I still worked as a beautician. I still worked in TV shows. Got myself kind of a little bit well known around the place. And then I decided that I wanted to go to university. Now, this was well supported. Like I really, really wanted to go. And when I got there, I knew I'd have to work a lot harder than everyone else. So I decided to become a nurse. Because I had a disability, I think I was just very empathetic, and I always wanted to do something to help people. There just didn't seem any point in doing anything else if it wasn't involved in helping people. So I went to university for 4 years. I did a lot of placements. Everybody was so lovely. Everybody was so kind. Everyone really admired what I was doing until the day I qualified as a nurse and went on to my first ward. That's where the problem started.
Right.
So, yeah. So to say the situation got out of control would be an understatement. So I arrived. It was about a month after I qualified. I arrived on the ward. The first week I hadn't got my PIN. So I just kind of got on with my job. I found it a bit hard. I did kind of notice with the staff when I asked for help or asked a question, there was no help really. And at the time, we were all left on wards alone. We all had just qualified and everyone was finding it difficult. So for the first month, I didn't really think, like I found it hard, but I didn't think as deep into what was happening. So the girls kind of started to get their feet around me, but I didn't. So it kind of came, I didn't make any mistakes on the ward. There was no bad mistakes made. But in about 3 months, they brought me up for my probation and they told me that I was failing my probation and blah blah blah, and it just wasn't working out. So we went then to 6 months. So at 6 months, then they brought me up and they said that I was failing my probation and all the rest. And during the meeting, the CNM3 said to me, because there was stuff written on the thing that I knew I didn't do. Like there was stuff that I did do, but there was stuff that I didn't do, and there was stuff that was exaggerated. And I turned around and I said to the CNM2, but no one is helping me on the floor. Like when I ask questions, no one answers the questions, and I just feel I have no support. So she was nice and she said she talked to the staff. So I signed the form. The CNM3 said to me, Emma, I would have liked to have seen you stand up for yourself a bit better. So I signed the form. That was it. I went downstairs. I was really upset. But one of the care staff came to me about a week later and she said that the nurses had come to her in a huff that I had reported them upstairs for not supporting me. So anyway, to tell a long story short, the care staff, most of them were amazing, and there was one household staff there and she was absolutely incredible. Now there was no support from any of the fellow nurses I worked with, definitely not, and I knew that. So as the weeks went on, things for the CNM one, who I really didn't get on with at all, she went out sick. So basically when she was out sick, everything was perfect. There was nothing that I did wrong. Or no, the week before she actually went sick, she came into me, the CNM too, and she had a load of stuff written down. And it was reported, like it was just simple stuff that the nurses seen that I was doing, but they let me walk into the trap. And I said that to her. I said, I really think that's really bitchy, and I really don't think I can work in a place that's bitchy. So she kind of knew I was going to walk because I really had enough of it. But they were stuck for nurses at the time because in Ireland, especially in the ID sector, they have to wait from September to September to get nurses. So she kind of knew she needed to keep me. So she kind of, then the other nurse went out sick, and then she was very nice for about 4 weeks. So then about 2 weeks before my probation period was up, the other nurse arrived back. Within the 2 weeks, I started to do everything wrong again. The forms started coming in. I was signing stuff that I knew I didn't do. I was telling them that I didn't do that. And they told me that if I didn't sign, I wouldn't get to go back on to the next week. So it came to the last week then, and one of the other nurses was out sick. And I went upstairs and I'd failed. And I just said, listen, I don't want to go till I fully fail. Can I just leave now? I don't want to go through the process of actually being fired and being put out of here. And so basically they were like then, no, stay on. We'll get you another place to work. We'll get you an easier ward to go to, but please stay on. So anyway, I stayed on for the week. And within that week, one of the ladies on the ward got really sick and died. And the morning of her wake, they brought me in to fire me, to let me go. And then they told me that there was no other, sorry, I'm getting a bit upset now. They told me that there was no
Okay, it's all right. It's all right if you cry.
Yeah, there was no other ward to go to, and that was it. I was fired and I was gone. But of course, there was a thing written on it like that, a load of stuff that I didn't do, but I just had to sign what I had to sign. So they were just so heartless. There was no like, can we put you somewhere else? I just said to them, is there any other thing I could go work at from my nursing if nursing isn't the career for me? And they just looked at me, and it was just one of the most, I've been in a lot of jobs and there had been a few problems, but everyone had been quite kind before, that sort of way. But these people were just on another level. So one of them said to me then, go work as a care staff for a while, and then you'll get your confidence up and then go back nursing. So I went into the top. I got, yeah, because when I was going into the meetings, I said to them one day, could I have a representative from the IMNO, which is the nursing body in Ireland? And they said no, they're not going to do anything for you. So I rang up the IMNO and I said what they said and said, no, that's ridiculous. We would have supported you. So they wrote them a letter and just said, will you take Emma back as a care staff and give her the chance to go back as a nurse? So they took me back on as a care staff, sent me to another ward. Now, the two men that were the managers on this ward were absolutely gentlemen. They were so, so lovely. And I enjoyed my year, but I knew there was never a chance of me getting back to be a nurse. So I just worked for the year. I applied to another service and I got the job. Well, I had left the other service, but in the meantime, they had got back to me and said that they hadn't received a nurse's reference. So I told them, well, I wouldn't get a reference from that job because I'd failed the probation. And they said at that point that they weren't aware they had failed my probation, which had been a year and a half before at this stage. So basically, I was out of work and they weren't hiring me then. They just said, there's no way you will ever work as a nurse again in Ireland when you have a failed probation. I didn't know that. So instantly, I got really ill. I ended up in hospital within 24 hours with sepsis.
Sure.
Yeah. So, sorry now.
It's okay. It's all right. Take your time. Take your time.
Sorry. So, yeah, I managed. I got through. I survived. The Dr. Donald Maguire in the Beacon Hospital in Dublin, who was absolutely incredible, says he doesn't know how I'm still alive. He just came down to the ward the next morning and he said that you were so ill, Emma. We didn't think you'd make it. But I had an abscess as well in my bowel at the time as well. So, and then the infection had got into my blood, and at the time they were so good at keeping me calm. They were such an incredible bunch of staff. Like I had an abscess in my bowel, and I felt an unbelievable pain. I felt like my whole body was going to crack open, and I couldn't sleep for about 2 days. And it wasn't until I couldn't pass urine, I knew there was a problem here. So I went to my doctor and he sent me to A&E. And when I got in there, I still didn't think there was anything really wrong. Do you know, that sort of way? I just thought that it was just a bit of a pain. I was just under pressure. And that just stressed.
Yeah.
So first that they were going to operate on the abscess and take it out. And then when it was absolutely a massive abscess. It was a few centimeters long. It was a very big abscess, so there was no way they could operate, because if they did, it would go all around the body. So then it had come to light that there was a hole in my bowel and the bacteria had all seeped out and it got into my blood, and at this stage my blood had started to clot. It was blood thinners the whole way, and yeah, but I made it anyway. I was in hospital for 10 days and I was out for 2 months in total, because I was on a lot of medication when I came home, and then I had to go back into hospital again for a while because I still wasn't feeling well. And then I had, I think it was a massive skin tag in between my legs, and I had to get that removed as well. So within 2 months, I went back to work. I had a job coach for my disability, and he rang up the organisation. They agreed to let me work as a care staff, and then I actually got a job as a vaccinator. So I worked 2 jobs because I wanted to save money to go back to university to do a master's in disability studies. So I worked for about 6 months. Now it was tough because I was sick and it was tough recovering, but I needed the money, and I just really felt that I was sent back for a reason. So I completed my master's in disability studies last week. So it was really interesting. It was all just about the human rights in the United Nations, and people with disabilities do have rights. And I'm starting a job next week in insurance, so it'll be quite interesting. We'll be working with people after motor accidents and, you know, getting them everything they need and stuff like that. But I would hope to go on and be a disability advocate. I'd love to work in politics someday, just to make sure that there is a law there that no one has to suffer like I did. Because as I said, there was just even if it was a fact that they didn't feel I was up to the nursing job, it could have been done differently.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I ask what disability do you live with?
It's a mild learning disability. It's very mild. The main problem is there's no awareness to it, and
Let's bring awareness
yeah,
and acceptance.
yeah, there's no awareness to it. Like as I said, in that job, they were very bitchy people, and they just wanted to get me out of there. They just wanted to bring me down. And as I went to I work with the political party here in Ireland. I do a little bit of work with them part time, and I told them my story. And as the woman said to me, like, these people were bullies. They bullied everybody. It wasn't just me. It just, I was more at the rat of it because I was a bit more vulnerable because I had a disability. They were bullies. They bullied everybody. That's the people that they were.
Right.
But it was just, and it was just that I was a little bit more vulnerable and I lost my job, which wouldn't happen to other people because they didn't have a mild learning disability. But I really do think, especially in Ireland, and I know, and further afield, that more awareness does need to be raised. Like, I mean, I'm not a person who needs to sit at home. I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly healthy. I'm well able to be in the workforce. And as we were saying, like, a lot of people in Irish prisons actually have disabilities. And in Ireland, it costs €80,000 a year to keep one person in prison. So the government aren't doing themselves any favours by not subsidising people with disabilities in jobs, because at the end of the day, if I wasn't working, I'd have to get a rent allowance, I'd have to get the dole, I'd have to get medical card. Like, how much would that cost compared to having me out working when there's no need for me to be at home? It just, and as I said with the prisoner thing, like, there was talks about doing a survey in Irish prisons to see prisons to see how many people had disabilities within them.
Yeah.
Because it's very kind of looked down and very stigmatized. As I said myself, I have a mild learning disability, which in the run of things, it's nothing compared to the suffering other people go through. Like, there's people in wheelchairs, there's people that basically can't get out of bed. And, it needs to be highlighted. And if there's someone like me suffering this much, what are people, as I said, in wheelchairs, people that are blind, people that are deaf, what suffering are they being put through if they can't even deal with the simple things?
Yeah, well, that's why Kerry's put that. Obviously, you've been through shit, but you come back out a stronger person.
Yeah, definitely. And my main thing is, like, what I'm on here today is to help people with disabilities and to help them get noticed, prevent discrimination, prevent bullying. And especially, like, if there's anyone on here today that's listening to me, feel free to add me on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and we could chat or get some advice. And it's Emma O Loughlin, OLOUGHLIN.
I got it wrong then.
Everybody gets it wrong. Everybody. The security man at the door used to have to call me Miss Emma because he couldn't get my surname. Everybody outside Ireland gets it wrong. It's grand.
I'm sorry, I am English. That probably makes it worse.
Everyone outside Ireland gets it wrong. It's grand.
but yeah, it is. We do live in a very diverse universe. We really do. And obviously, me and Kerry were SEN parents to two autistic kids ourselves, and I can say up front, the system has failed them. And especially with the obviously we do have a question off Kerry, which I'll get to in a minute, but there's a lot of SEN children do fall through the cracks because of the lack of understanding they've got and the lack of training.
100%. There's just, like, I work with a lot of parents with autistic kids in Ireland, and you just, like, when you're working with them, when kids are young, all they're thinking about is education, which is right, but they don't understand, even when they get to the workforce, the problems that they're going to have. And it's just so hard for the parents. Like, they're battling so much to get them education at the moment. And sometimes I'm thinking in the back of my head, yeah, but even if you do get that education, what about the work? There's how are they going to manage work-wise? There's no support in workforces. It's just crazy, like.
It is. We've got a question of Kerry. Go on.
1 in 5 people in Great Britain have a disability.
Yeah.
And I say it's the same all over.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I believe it's a high percentage of that percentage of people with disabilities they get ignored as well and neglected.
100%, definitely. And as I said, it would make more sense financially if we were added to the workforce. Like, it cost the country more because I said people in prisons, they turn to crime, they have no future, they turn to a life of crime, and that causes more money and problems in a state.
Yeah, well, even then, like obviously without sounding age discriminating, but even the older generation, they don't know about hidden disabilities such as autism or anything like that.
Yeah, invisible disabilities, yeah, that people just think that you're being lazy or, yeah, they just don't.
Exactly. Well, anyway, to this question, how has going through everything affected your mental health?
Oh, I had a massive effect on my mental health, definitely. Like I was too ashamed to tell anyone what happened. That I couldn't tell anybody what happened. I was so ashamed of what happened. I felt so embarrassed. It definitely, I felt very isolated. COVID hit then. I felt I couldn't meet up with people because they'd be asking me, how's my job going? It was just very, it just like to describe it clearly. I used to just lie in bed in the mornings thinking that I wasn't strong enough for the world.
Right.
That's how it feels after something like that happens. Yeah, and as I said, if they had done it a little bit more sensitively, it would have been a major help. But they didn't. They did what they wanted to do. But yeah, no, definitely had a massive effect on my mood. My mood got a lot worse. Definitely than it ever was before. Yeah, and
Would
especially after, I think after being in hospital and after getting a fright like that, it does affect your health anyway. Like even being physically sick really affects your mental health anyway because there's a loss of independence. Like there was some days I wasn't even strong enough to go to the toilet by myself. I
right.
had a drain in my back. I was so sore. But I think it definitely, and then you're very tired. I was very tired as well and very anxious because like especially in a job, people are carrying stories to the manager behind your back. You know that they want you out of there.
Yeah.
So it's very you're very anxious the whole time because you're afraid of that you know that they're looking at you, they're carrying stories behind your back, they're doing everything they can to get you out of the place.
Would you say then carrying stories behind your back, it's I wouldn't say it's more of a hatred towards you. Would you say it's more their ego?
There you go.
Mm,
Probably, yeah. Yeah, but I don't think they understand the effect of carrying stories. Like there was just what was it one day? Yeah, I remember with one of the nurses one day. I went to work straight away, but I was meant to go over for the handover. I didn't realize. I thought when because I was on the late shift, but I
right.
didn't understand that at the time. But she let me do it on in a 1 week basis. She let me do it twice and never said it to me and reported it to the manager. And Ever just said, Emma, hold on a second. You go over for handover and I'll start work. That's the way it works. Because I would have always worked by myself mostly. So when a second nurse was on with me, I didn't really understand that the nurse who was on the late shift went over for the handover.
Yeah.
And she let me do it twice instead of just saying, hold on a minute, Emma. Did you not realize that's the way it actually works? Instead of letting me do it twice and making me fail for the week for it. I don't think they understand. I don't know whether they understand or it's just nastiness or what it is. But if she had just said it to me, it wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah. So, how important is communication within the workplace, especially with SEN individuals?
Oh, it's really, really important, yeah. Because I said that there's a lot of people out there that think that there's no place for it in the workplace. They're not going to deal with it. And
Yeah.
that's it. If they see someone, they're just going to keep going to the manager till we get rid of her. Like, that sort of way. So communication is important. But I think that even in Ireland, because it's 3% in Ireland, you have to have that's a minimum of 3% in your workplace to have a disability. Now in nursing, that's a lot lower, it's 0.3, and that's I think it's going up to 5% next year. So they were saying that we had a meeting in Leinster House a while ago. And they were saying it would have to go up to 5%. But for that to happen, they would have to raise awareness
Yeah.
in the workplace, which there is in Ireland. There's absolutely no awareness. Even like, I mean, I just have a mild learning disability, which a lot of people have. Like, it's very close to dyslexia. It's not, but there's still no awareness to it in the workplace, and people just feel that it's not their job to deal with it, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, this is what we're trying to bring here on the Warriors. Is we're not just here to bring awareness. We're bringing equality and acceptance as well,
Yeah.
because
And
that's what it's about.
another thing I want to, like, when I was in the job, I always thought mentally, like mentally it did affect my health. I always thought new mentally. I always had the idea that I would never take my life. No matter what happened, I wouldn't take my life. I'd be stronger than that, and that wouldn't happen. But what happened was the stress caused me to lose my life anyway. Like physically, I got so ill from what I'd gone through. I was minutes from dying. Do you know, it wasn't just like stuff like that just has an effect over your whole body. You might think mentally you're strong enough to deal with it, but you're physically you could really, really be suffering. And that really got me by surprise. Like I never thought I would have got that sick. Even when I was in hospital the next morning when he came down and said, "You're really, really lucky to still be here." I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, you know, it never crossed my mind that I would get that sick or it would affect me that much.
I agree. I agree. So, what changes would you like to see when you become a disability advocate?
I definitely like to see more of an acceptance in the workplace.
Yeah.
Definitely people with disabilities need to be in the workplace because as I said, anyone can become disabled at any time. Anyone could have a car accident and could have a mortgage and 4 kids at home. And you can't be putting people out on the streets, putting them through what I went through if they've got 4 young kids at home. You know, you need to show a bit of empathy. You need to show a bit of kindness. I mean, none of us are here forever. We're all
No.
only here for a short while. So there's no point in getting being that nasty with people, think that it's going to bring you that much further ahead in life because what was it Richard Gere was saying there's none of us getting out of here alive and there's not like
Exactly.
so I
Exactly.
think I think people may realize what they put me through. But like as I said, like there's people that have worse disabilities than I have. Mine is just very, very minor. I think we just really, really need to deal with like take a job is very, very important. You need to have a job. You need to have a job socially. You need to have a job to live. You need to have a job just for your status in society. It's just so important a job. So they really like especially like other countries as well really need to get people with disabilities into the workforce. And a lot of companies that hire people with disabilities, like Amazon, Allianz, Salesforce, they actually, and Tesco, Tesco is one of the biggest grocery store sellers in the UK because
Yeah.
they hire so many people with disabilities. Because the neighbour might say, "Oh, my friend has a disability and she got hired in Tesco. I'm going to go to Tesco all the time now." So it actually people that do hire companies that do hire staff with disabilities actually sell more products because people admire them more, and the people with disabilities can bring a lot to a company. They just need a little bit extra support. They can be very
Okay.
brainy, so it's a win-win, and there's no point paying out dole money, benefits, whatever you call it. We call it dole money, you call it benefits in England, paying this out to have people sitting at home that are well able to work because it leads to a lot of mental health problems, it leads to a lot of physical problems when people aren't working as well. So my main thing would be to push education, push many people with disabilities onto the workforce. And I do hope to write a book just to explain what my disability is, explain what can be done to help me. I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey in the workforce. Now, it's not to name and shame people, but just talk a little bit about my journey, how I was treated, see how we can improve. Because I mean, I was lucky enough, I managed to live, I managed to get through, but the next girl mightn't. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about helping people getting. And as I said, if anyone's listening to my story and it resonates with them anyway, just feel free to contact me, even if they have a child with dyslexia, a child with autism, they know somebody. Because I mean, I've wrote letters to the Irish government. We have a minister here, Anne Rabbitte, and I've wrote letters to her, and they've refused to meet with me. So you
Are you
know,
surprised?
yeah, no, I've wrote. No, not a bit. I've wrote letters to, and I got to every. I went to my local TD. I did go to one party now, and they put me in a disability group, but they're not the party in power in Ireland here. But I've wrote more letters, and I've just got. Oh, it goes to Anne Rabbitte, the Minister for Disability. It went to Anne Rabbitte. She refused to meet with me. There's just every door closed. I told them about my story. I nearly lost my life. It just didn't. They just said it was between me and the service that I was with, and it was up to Yeah, should be. How would you sort out with the service? Like, of course, they weren't going to admit any wrongdoing. So there was basically, I'm thinking now maybe to bring it to Europe to see what they say.
Yeah.
But
So when you was practically in bed, depressed, anxious, practically at rock bottom,
yeah.
what inspired you to actually say, I don't need to feel like this anymore, I want to get back up? And what inspired you to get back up?
Do you know what? My story is very, very unique. And there's so many unique stories told throughout the world that have helped people. Like, I could sit in bed every day, eat all around me, feel sorry for myself for the rest of my life. But what's that really going to do? What's it going to do for me? What's it going to do for other people?
Yeah.
Like, my thing is get up every day. Like, I always suffer with really, really bad anxiety, but I just have to kind of cope with that. But get up every day, tell my story. It could help a lot of people, could inspire a lot of people, and just prevent it from happening again. Instead of sitting in a room all day and getting really, really depressed, be out there. Like, I love talking to people, I love helping people, and I really enjoyed completing my master's. Now, I found it hard at times, but like, everyone struggles with things at times, but I really enjoyed completing it, and it kept me busy, it kept my mind off it. So that's basically what gave me the push to get up, get out there, tell my story. I mean, there's a lot of celebrities with disabilities that have done loads of stuff in life, so there's no need for me to be sitting at home feeling sorry for myself. You know, I'm 34 now. I have a whole life ahead of me, and if I can even help one person, as I say, by telling my story. I'm actually quite a fighter, even though I have anxiety. I'm actually quite good to fight for my rights and fight for the rights of people with disabilities.
Brilliant. But going back to the word celebrity mentioned, as our late great friend Philip Chan said, we're all celebrities. All of us are. There's no difference because at the end of the day, we're all human.
That's true. Definitely. Yeah. Definitely. We're all. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, obviously, you said that they can find you on Facebook and Instagram. Anywhere else?
TikTok and LinkedIn.
Exactly. You should do more videos on TikTok, getting your story out there.
I should, yeah, definitely. I'll start because I've got quite a good few followers on TikTok.
Yeah.
So I'll start getting my story out there, and because I was just kind of so busy with the masters, there was no time. But definitely more to get, because I mean, there's probably people out there that have kind of so. And as I said, like, people in jobs even without disabilities get bullied the whole time as well. So it's good for them to hear this as well, and like, know when you're getting bullied in a job, stick up for yourself, go get help. There is help out there.
Yeah, exactly. I agree.
They are important.
Agree. So if you've got one piece of advice you give to those bullies or to people that are going to be struggling in the same situation you was in, what would it be?
To the bullies, is it?
Mm.
Just to have a heart. Like, what's the point in being so nasty? Like, I think some people try to act like they don't know what happened to me. Like, I was left very sick. I was left fighting for my life in hospital. That's the effect it had on me. And a job is really, really important. Like, I didn't even have kids. I didn't even have a mortgage. But it's still up. Like, I kind of knew I never would after what happened. Do you know, that sort of way? Like, it was kind of, I had to grieve for part of my life that was gone. And I think they pretend to know that a job is a really big deal. Like, it really is. I mean, it pays your mortgage, it raises your kids, it keeps you going. So just be mindful of what you're doing to people and the effect it's having on people. And like, I mean, nobody is perfect at their job. I've seen loads of nurses, even the managers who were firing me, I've seen them make mistakes. Like, everybody makes mistakes.
They do.
Nobody's perfect, so don't think that anybody is.
Exactly, I agree. Right, well, we'll leave it as that. I want to say thanks for coming on.
Sorry for the tears. I hope you've heard me.
No, never apologise for tears because
still well up a bit.
Never apologise for the tears because at the end of the day you showed vulnerability, which vulnerability shows strength. So we're congratulating you on that one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And good luck with your new job as well.
Oh, thank you.
Anytime. Right. We'll leave it as that. Obviously, don't go anywhere, Emma. We'll talk after the show. This ain't over. You ain't getting rid of me easy because I'm back tomorrow for my show, Warriors of Attraction, where talking similar, where we're talking with an Aussie person who works with people at the end of life. So that should be interesting. And again, for people that's just tuned in, please follow us on Linktree, subscribe to us, and yeah, all social media. This is going on Spotify probably later today, and yeah, we'll see you again tomorrow. Right, bye for now.